Who is there?" Akoji asked, his voice shaking. The water rippled gently. Then, slowly, a head rose above the waves. Long black hair fell over sparkling shoulders. Eyes that glowed like stars looked at him. That night the moon was bright, but the village was dark. Dark not because there was no light, but because there was no joy. And in the center of that sadness stood one name that had carried shame for generations, Akoji. From his great-great-grandfather's time until now, people in the village had always pointed at HIS family as the very picture of poverty. They were mocked. They were laughed at. They were never respected. Children refused to play with Akoji. Men insulted him. Women whispered behind him. Even goats and chickens were treated better than him. But there was one thing no one could take away from Akoji, his voice. Every evening, when hunger bit him too hard and the insults of the day still rang in his ears, Akoji would walk alone to the quiet river. He would sit on a broken stone by the water and sing. Not just ordinary singing. Number his voice was melodious like the morning birds, soft like the evening breeze, and deep like the heartbeat of the earth. It was the only thing that gave him peace. It was the only thing that made him feel alive. And unknown to him, it was also the one thing that would change his life forever. Deep inside the river, beneath the silver waves, lived a creature no villager had ever seen. Her name was Raza. She was a mermaid, half woman, half fish, beautiful beyond words. Her hair was as black as the midnight sky. Her eyes shone like blue crystals. Her tail glittered with golden scales that sparkled each time the moonlight touched the water. Raza had lived in that river for hundreds of years. She had seen fishermen come and go. She had heard drums, laughter, and cries from the village. But she had never heard a voice like Akoji's. The first time she heard it, she thought it was a flute. The second time, she thought it was the wind. But the third time, curiosity pulled her close to the riverbank. And there she saw him. A poor, lonely boy with torn clothes and empty hands, yet with a voice that could melt even the hardest stone. Akoji closed his eyes as he sang, not knowing anyone was listening. His words were simple, but they carried pain. He sang about hunger. He sang about rejection. He sang about a tomorrow he was not sure would ever come. And as his voice echoed over the river, Raza felt something she had never felt before. Her heart beat differently. She swam closer, hiding behind a rock, her tail flashing under the moonlight. "Who is this boy?" she whispered to herself. "Why does his voice pierce my heart like this?" The next evening, Akoji came again. And again, Raza listened. Day after day, night after night, he came and he sang. And each time, the mermaid's heart grew softer. She wanted to show herself. She wanted to speak, but she feared what would happen. What if he ran away? What if he screamed? What if he rejected her like the villagers rejected him? Still, she could not resist. One night, when the moon was full and the river shone like glass, Raza finally gathered courage. Akoji was singing with his eyes closed, his voice trembling with emotion. Suddenly, your voice, a soft voice, whispered from the water. Akoji froze. He looked around. The forest was silent. The night birds were quiet. Only the river moved. Who is there?" he asked, his voice shaking. The water rippled gently. Then, slowly, a head rose above the waves. Long black hair fell over sparkling shoulders. Eyes that glowed like stars looked at him, and lips curved into the faintest smile. Akoji's breath caught in his chest. He could not believe his eyes. "Hey, a woman?" he whispered. "No," she answered, her voice like a sweet song. "A mermaid." Akoji stumbled back, his heart beating fast. He had heard stories of spirits in the water. He had heard tales of mermaids who dragged men into the deep, but none had ever appeared to him. You can't be real," he muttered. Raza's laughter ran like tiny bells. "Do I look unreal to you?" she asked, raising her glittering tail above the water for him to see. The moonlight danced on the golden scales, blinding his eyes with beauty. Akoji could not move. He could not speak. All he could do was stare. For the first time in his life, someone was looking at him with admiration. Not pity, not hatred, not mockery. And for the first time in her life, Raza was drawn to a human not because of fear or curiosity, but because of love. She swam closer, her face only inches from his. "Your voice brought me here," she said softly. "I have never heard anything so beautiful. Who are you?" Akoji swallowed hard. "My name is Akoji," he said. "The poor boy of this village." Raza shook her head. "No," she whispered. "You are not just a poor boy. You are a soul wrapped in music. And tonight, Akoji, your life will never remain the same." Her eyes glowed brighter as she spoke again. "Your voice will be heard far beyond this village. Kings and strangers will bow to it, and you shall be honored where once you were despised." Akoji trembled, not understanding. What? What do you mean?" Raza smiled, her teeth shining like pearls. "I can see through your soul," she said. "I know your pain. I know your hunger. I know the chains of shame tied to your family's name. But listen well." Her voice deepened, like the river itself was speaking. "The crown of poverty that has sat on your lineage for generations has just been removed. It is broken tonight." At once, Akoji felt like something heavy was lifted off his shoulders. His body shivered, his chest loosened, tears filled his eyes. Raza's smile widened, glowing like gold. "And your bedridden parents at this very moment are rising to their feet." Akoji gasped. His knees buckled. He could not believe what he was hearing. But deep inside, something told him it was true. And from that night onward, Akoji's destiny began to change. As he kept hearing Raza's voice echoing in his ears, "And your bedridden parents, at this very moment, are rising to their feet," his legs shook as he ran from the river, faster than he had ever run before. The trees whispered. The moon followed him. The ground itself seemed lighter under his feet. "Please, let it be true," he muttered. "Please, let it be true." At last he reached the small, broken hut where his family lived. The hut had no door, just a piece of cloth hanging loosely. Inside, Hawaii's parents lay on thin mats, weak and pale, as they had been for many years. But when Akoji pushed the cloth aside that night, what he saw made him freeze. His father, who had not walked in years, was standing. His mother, who had been coughing her life away, was sitting upright, her eyes bright, her skin glowing with strange new strength. "Akoji!" his mother cried. Her voice was strong, not weak. Tears ran down her cheeks. His father stretched out his arms. "My son, come here." Akoji dropped to his knees, weeping, unable to believe his eyes. He hugged them, trembling. "You are standing. You are alive. You are strong." His parents held him tightly. "It happened suddenly," his mother whispered. "One moment we were lying weak. The next moment, strength filled our bones. We stood up without pain." "It is a miracle," his father added. "A miracle from heaven." But Akoji knew it was not just heaven. It was Raza. That night, laughter filled their hut for the first time in many years. His father laughed. His mother laughed. Akoji laughed until his belly hurt. They ate the little they had, just a small bowl of soaked gari. But that night, it tasted like a king's feast. They sang, they danced, they celebrated. And for the first time in his life, Akoji did not feel like the poorest boy in the world. The next morning, when the rooster crowed and the sun slowly rose, they opened the hut to fetch water. And there, right at their doorstep, were baskets. Not one, not two, but many baskets. Baskets filled with yam, baskets filled with rice, baskets filled with beans, maize, palm oil, dried fish, and even fresh fruits no one in the village had seen for months. They all gasped. His mother covered her mouth, shaking her head in disbelief. Where did all this come from?" His father bent to touch the baskets. "This is not ordinary," he whispered. "This is a blessing." Akoji's heart raced. He knew where it came from. He knew who had sent it. Raza. The news spread quickly in the village. "Have you heard? Poverty has left Akoji's house. They say food is flowing like water at his door, and his sick parents are walking again." Men who once mocked him stopped in their tracks. Women who once whispered about him shook their heads in wonder. Children who never played with him stood in groups, staring at his hut with wide eyes. Some called it witchcraft. Some called it a miracle. But all of them knew one thing. The curse on Akoji's family was broken. Days turned into weeks. The baskets never stopped coming. Each morning, they woke to find new food waiting at their doorstep. Sometimes it was yam and oil. Sometimes it was rice and fish. Sometimes it was meat and honey. And always it was more than enough. His parents grew fat and strong. Their skin glowed, their laughter filled the air, and Akoji, he no longer walked with his head bent low. The villagers began to change towards him. Those who once mocked him now greeted him with respect. Those who once insulted him now called him brother. Children who once ran away now followed him around, begging him to sing. And when he sang, the whole village listened. His voice was no longer just his own secret. It was now the river's gift to the world. Men said it calmed their anger. Women said it healed their hearts. Children said it gave them joy. And for the first time since the days of his great-great-grandfather, the name Akoji was no longer a symbol of shame. It was a name of hope. But Akoji knew the truth. It was not just luck. It was not just chance. It was Raza, the mermaid who had chosen him, the mermaid whose eyes shone like stars, the mermaid whose words still burned in his soul. The crown of poverty that has sat on your lineage for generations has just been removed. It is broken tonight. And deep inside he knew this was only the beginning, because every night she still waited for him by the river.it was a quiet night. The moonlight spread across the water like silver oil, and the breeze carried the faint smell of salt, as if the ocean itself had drawn near to listen. Akoji sat on a stone by the riverbank. His voice trembled with joy as he sang softly, letting the notes float into the night. Hope has come, sorrow is gone, the crown of shame is broken. Raza's head slowly rose from the water. Her eyes glowed like stars. Her long, wet hair flowed behind her like waves. Akoji, she whispered, your voice is not only for this river, it is for the world. Akoji's chest tightened. He shook his head. I am just a poor boy. The world does not know me. Raza smiled, her lips glistening with water. The world will know. The river does not lie. Already, your song has gone beyond these trees. It has entered the hearts of men you have never seen. She stretched her hand toward him, and though she could not step on land, the water beneath her hand sparkled like fireflies. Tomorrow, she said, strangers will come. They will call you by name. They will offer you a gift greater than all the baskets you have seen. Akoji's heart pounded. Strangers? Who are they? Raza's voice became soft, almost sad. They are men from far away, men who deal in music. They will ask you to sing for them. They will give you gold, land, fame, everything your fathers never had. His eyes widened. And you want me to accept? Yes. Her eyes shone brighter. Because this is the doorway to your destiny. But remember, Akoji, her voice deepened, echoing like 1,000 waters. Never forget the river. Never forget me. Sing for me always, and your blessings will flow without end. Her words wrapped around his heart like chains of light. He bowed his head. I will never forget you, Raza. Never. She touched the water again. Ripples spread, glowing like circles of fire. Then it is sealed. The next morning, the prophecy began to unfold. Strangers truly came. Not one, not 2, but 3 men their clothes neat, their shoes polished, their accents heavy like they were from far across the sea. They carried shiny devices in their hands. The villagers gathered in shock. They had never seen such men before. The tallest among them smiled when he saw Akoji. "Are you Akoji?" Akoji's voice shook. "Yes, I am." The man nodded. "We have heard of you. A voice like yours must not stay hidden. We represent a great record label. We want the world to hear you sing." The villagers gasped. Women placed their hands on their heads. Men whispered among themselves. Children jumped with excitement. One old man muttered, "Is this not the same boy whose fathers carried the curse of poverty?" Another replied, "The gods must have remembered him." The strangers gave Akoji papers to sign. They promised him millions. They promised him travel. They promised him stages bigger than his whole village. Akoji trembled as he signed, his hand shaking. His father wept. His mother knelt to thank God. That very day, they recorded his first song. He sang by the river as always, but this time, strange devices captured every note. And when the recording was played back, the villagers could not believe it. His voice sounded even more heavenly than before. The strangers smiled. "This voice," one of them whispered, "will shake the earth." Weeks passed. Akoji's name spread far beyond the village. Radios began to play his songs. Newspapers wrote about him. His pictures appeared in cities he had never seen. Money began to flow like a river. His family no longer lived in the broken hut. They moved into a fine house built with bricks, painted bright like sunrise. But Akoji never forgot the river. Every night, no matter how tired, he returned. There, by the moonlit waters, he sang first for Raza before the world could hear his voice. And each time he sang, she listened, with her head resting on her folded arms, her eyes shining with pride. "Akoji," she whispered one night, "your voice now heals more than just your parents. It heals nations. But beware, blessings also draw enemies." His chest tightened. "Enemies?" "Yes." Her eyes darkened. "Some will not rejoice with you. Some will seek your downfall. Fame is a double-edged sword. Promise me, whatever happens, you will return to the river." Akoji placed his hand on his chest. "I promise." Her lips curved into a faint, sad smile. "Then my heart is at peace." But already whispers of danger had begun. Some villagers grew jealous. Why him? Why not us? Some elders frowned. A boy of shame has suddenly become a prince. This is not ordinary. And in faraway lands, powerful men began to ask, "Who is this Akoji? Where did he come from?" Raza knew the storm was coming, and in her heart a deeper truth burned. She was no ordinary mermaid. She had given Akoji more than blessings. She had given him her heart, but she also knew every love between water and land carries a price. The village was no longer the same. Everywhere Akoji walked, whispers followed him. Some called his name with joy. Others spat it out with envy. Children ran after him singing his songs, but the elders folded their arms and shook their heads. He was born in poverty, they said. How can a voice suddenly change his destiny? Such blessings cannot come without a spirit hiding behind them. Akoji tried to ignore their words. At night he ran to the river as always, where Raza waited with her glowing eyes. Her presence was his only peace. But jealousy is like smoke once it rises. It enters every nose. One evening, when the moon hid behind thick clouds, a group of men gathered under the giant Awoke tree. Their faces were hard, their voices bitter. "This boy is mocking us," one said. "He has broken the shame his fathers carried for generations." Another spat, "And now he shines brighter than all of us." "It is not ordinary," the oldest whispered. "We must find the source of his power. If it is a spirit, we will expose it." They agreed. That night they sharpened their cutlasses, lit their lamps, and walked quietly toward the river where they knew Akoji always went to sing. They would watch him, and if they saw anything strange, they would strike. Akoji sat on his usual stone. His voice rose gently, trembling with love. "Light has come. Chains are gone. My voice will never be silent." The river rippled softly. Then Raza appeared, her hair flowing like dark silk across the water. Her smile lit the night. "You sing with joy tonight," she whispered. Akoji's heart beat fast. "Because you are here, because you believe in me." But just then, a twig snapped. Akoji froze. His eyes darted toward the trees. Shadows moved. Lanterns flickered. The sound of footsteps crushed the silence. From the darkness, men stepped out, 10 of them, their eyes fierce, their hands gripping cutlasses and sticks. "There!" one shouted. "We told you, he has a spirit in the river." Another pointed at Raza, his face twisted in fear and greed. "Look, a mermaid! No wonder his voice shakes the world." Akoji sprang to his feet, his body trembling. "No, she's not what you think. She is my friend." "Silence!" the oldest man barked. "This is abomination. You have brought a water spirit into our land. We will end this tonight." The men raised their weapons and rushed toward the riverbank. Akoji shouted, "No, please don't hurt her." He ran to stand between them and the water. But before the men could reach, the river stirred. The water began to swirl violently, glowing with a strange silver light. A sound like thunder rumbled from deep within. Raza rose higher than ever before. Her eyes were no longer soft, they blazed like burning stars. "You dare to touch him?" Her voice roared, echoing like 1,000 waves crashing at once. The men staggered back, their cutlasses shaking in their hands, but pride made them stubborn. "She is a demon," one cried. "Strike her down!" They raised their weapons again. In that instant, the river exploded. A wave leapt from the water, taller than the Awoke tree, and crashed onto the bank with a roar. The ground shook. The men were thrown off their feet, their lanterns extinguished, their weapons flung far away. Dark water wrapped around their bodies like ropes, pinning them to the earth. They screamed, but the river only tightened. Raza's voice filled the night. I am no demon. I am the guardian of this boy, chosen before he was born. Whoever touches him touches fire. Whoever curses him curses the river itself. Her hair spread across the water like wings. Her body glowed brighter than the moon. The men shivered in terror. Their pride melted into fear. Forgive us! Oh, they cried. We did not know. We were blind with envy. The water released them slowly, leaving them soaked and trembling. Go! Raza commanded, her voice softer but still heavy. Return to your homes. Tell the village. Akoji is not cursed. He is chosen. And if any man rises against him again, the river will rise against that man. The men bowed their heads, too shaken to speak. One by one they fled into the night, their footsteps heavy with fear. After the storm's silence returned, the river grew calm again, shimmering under the moonlight. Akoji stood frozen, his heart pounding. He turned to Raza, his eyes wide with awe and fear. Raza, his voice cracked. What? What are you? Her eyes softened again, though sadness lingered there. She lowered herself back into the water. I am what I have always been, the one who believes in you. But tonight you have seen a part of my truth. Akoji's throat tightened. You saved me. Raza reached her hand out, water sparkling beneath her palm. I will always save you, but remember, Akoji, every blessing carries a battle. This was only the first. Akoji placed his trembling hand on his chest. I am not afraid as long as you are here. Her lips curved into a tender, almost broken smile. And I will be here, always, even if the whole world rises against you. The river glowed faintly, like it was listening and sealing her promise. The morning the letter came, the whole village buzzed like a hive of bees. A man from the city rode into the square on a motorcycle, carrying a white envelope sealed with gold. He asked for Akoji, the poor boy whose voice had travelled farther than the river, farther even than the hills that caged the village. The elders muttered, some frowned, some whispered, but the children ran and fetched Akoji from his small hut. When he broke the seal and read the letter, his knees trembled. He had been invited to sing abroad in a country beyond the seas, in a hall where voices from every nation would rise. It was more than an invitation. It was history. No one from the village, or even from the villages beyond, had ever been chosen for such a thing. Akoji was the first. But instead of dancing with joy, Akoji's chest grew heavy. That night, when others celebrated, he walked quietly to the river. The moon was shy, hiding behind clouds. The river rippled like it was waiting. Raza, Akoji whispered. His voice cracked. I must leave. The water stirred, and she rose, her hair glistening, her eyes glowing like stars that had fallen close to earth. Leave? She said softly. Akoji's eyes burned with tears. They want me to travel far, across the ocean, to sing, to stand before strangers I have never seen. But how can I go when you are here? How can I leave the one who believed in me before anyone else? For a long moment, Raza was silent. The waves around her swayed gently, as if thinking. Then she reached out her hand, water dripping like jewels. Akoji, blessings are rivers. They are not meant to stay in one place. They flow, carrying life to places that thirst. You must go. You must let your voice water the earth beyond this village. Akoji shook his head. But I will miss you every breath I take. Her lips curved in a tender, sorrowful smile. And I will miss you. But my presence will go with you. When you sing, I will be in your voice. When you stand before the world, I will be the strength in your bones. Go, Akoji, and never fear, for the river is never far from the rain. Akoji's tears fell into the water. He placed his hand over hers, though hers was cold and shimmering. Promise me you will always be here. Her eyes glowed brighter. Always, even when you cannot see me, I will be. Now go, my chosen one, go. And with that, she sank slowly back into the water, leaving only ripples and a silver glow that lingered until dawn. The journey was long. The airplane roared like a mighty beast, and Akoji's heart pounded as the ground fell away beneath him. And Akoji sang before crowds larger than he had ever dreamed. Lights blinded him, but his voice rose above them. When he sang, silence filled the air, as if the whole earth paused to listen. And in those moments, though ocean stretched between him and his river, he felt her. He felt Raza. She was in every note, every word, every breath. His name traveled across nations. Newspapers wrote of the boy from the forgotten village. Children learned his songs in places he had never seen. But fame did not change him. Each night, when he was alone, he whispered into the dark, Raza, are you listening? And somehow, his heart told him she was. Years passed, but Akoji never forgot his promise. One day, he returned to his village, not as the poor boy they once mocked, but as the most famous artist the land had ever known. Behind him came trucks carrying engineers, builders, and materials from the city. Dust rose as the work began. On the land he bought near the river, they built 2 magnificent mansions, white walls shining like shells, glass windows catching the sunday. The village gathered to watch, their mouths open in wonder. Is this the same Akoji? They whispered. The one whose fathers carried shame? The one we mocked? Akoji only smiled, his heart quiet. For he remembered Raza's words, never pay evil with evil. When the mansion stood complete, Akoji opened the doors not for himself alone, but for all. The hungry found food. The weak found strength. The destitute found bed. The poor found clothes. And in the evenings, when the village gathered to sing, Akoji sang with them. His voice lifted them, healed them, reminded them that light can rise from even the darkest poverty. At the back of the house, close to the river, Akoji built a small shrine not for worship, but for remembrance. Each night he sat there, speaking softly to the water. Sometimes he laughed, sometimes he cried, but always he ended with, "Thank you, Rasa." And though no one else saw her, Akoji knew. The river glowed gently at night. The ripples danced as if a hidden smile lingered beneath. She was there, always. As years rolled on, Akoji became a legend. His songs filled radios, his name filled books. Yet he remained the same humble boy who once sat alone by the river. He never forgot the girl with eyes like stars, who rose from the water when no one else cared for him. He never forgot the night the river fought back. And so, though fame crowned his head, love guarded his heart. A love not born of flesh, but of spirit. A love that gave without taking. A love that remained. Akoji lived happily, not because he escaped poverty, but because he had known a love pure enough to outlive envy, strong enough to silence fear, and deep enough to flow like a river without end. And every night, when he sang softly to the waves, the river answered in ripples, in whispers, in light. Because promises like theirs never die. Did you learn anything from this story? Let me know in the comment section. Tell me everything you learned from this story. Please leave your answers and join the conversation below in the comment section. If you enjoyed watching and listening to this story, then click on that like button and subscribe to this channel now so that you can see more of my interesting stories and folk tales. Thank you so much for watching this video to this very end. Click on any of the video links above to watch more of my interesting stories on this channel.